Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our service. I'm the Reverend Doug Wadkins. I am your interim minister, and we'd like to welcome everyone, but especially our visitors, both our visitors here in the sanctuary, but anyone who's also streaming a live stream. You are very welcome to be part of our service. We hope if you are a visitor that you'll take a couple of minutes to get to know us better. If you're here on campus, you can do that by going outside during the coffee hour and going to our welcome corner. There you can find out more information and you can sign our guest book to be able to get our newsletter, The Contact. You can also do that online. If you go to our homepage and click on the banner that's entitled Welcome Visitors, you also can find information about the congregation as well as signing our virtual guest book. And we will send you a link so that you can participate in our online offerings. And of course, we hope join us here when you're able to. There will be a coffee hour after the service today, and so we hope that those of you who are here will join us for that. Let's see, there are a few things that I want to remind you of. It started at 10 o'clock, but through coffee hour today from 10 to 12:30 in the Lexile Wing, the Arts Council will host a silent auction of Nancy Orcott's paintings gifted to us by her husband, Bill. Nancy was a member of the congregation for many years, and her husband, Bill, remains a member. Please join us in the Lexile Wing to celebrate Nancy's life and work. The bidding will close at 12:30 p.m. today, and the paintings will be available to take with you at that time. And payment is by cash or check only. All proceeds will go to benefit the work of the Arts Council. So I hope you'll give a look and bid. Next week, as part of the service, we will take part in an annual tradition in many of our congregations, flower communion. And to be a part of that is very simple. All you have to do is bring a flower, a single flower that you like with you to the service. That can be something that you take from your yard, someone else's yard, from the store, whatever it is, it's fine. But, or for that matter, if you forget, we always have extras. You can be a part of it. And we'll explain more about the service. It's very meaningful and a part of our history. But please bring a flower next Sunday so you can participate. Today, after the service, there will be a membership book signing in the minister's office. And so if you are considering being a member, we welcome you, if you're ready to sign the book, to join me in the minister's office right after the service. You can do that by going across the courtyard into the Lexile Wing and take a left, and I'll be looking out for you. So I hope if you are ready to do so, that we will have you sign the book today. Last two things. One is you will notice that we still have flowers up here from Marty Hill's memorial service, which was a wonderful celebration of her life. And we had so many flowers, and we don't have anything to do with them after today. So I hope you will take at least a mini bouquet from these with you, and enjoy them more. A wonderful way to have Marty's legacy last even longer. So please take some flowers with you before you leave. In just a moment, we will have our prelude, and we are very, very happy to have Zachary Johnson with us. He is a Sarasota native. He got his PhD from Florida State, and he teaches privately and performs publicly around the area. Welcome, Zachary. Thank you, Zachary. We look forward to more music soon. It is time for our chalice lighting, and we're happy to have April and Rosie here to light our chalice. You are welcome to light a chalice at home if you are watching us on live stream, or just a candle to be more part of the service. Rebecca Savage wrote, "Rejoice, rejoice with full hearts, beloved people of blessing. Rejoice, may this time of worship celebrate what we know at our core. Blessings are real and ours to claim and radiate. Blessings are abundant and ours to revel in and pass along. Blessings are transformational and ours to be challenged by. As we grow towards the faith we know we can be."
Good morning, everyone. This month our theme is celebrating blessings, and today's sermon topic is rites of passage. And I could not think of anything better to celebrate this month than the 50th anniversary of the passage of Title IX, and the remarkable person who made that happen. Her journey was a rite of passage for all women. So my story today is based on the book Fall Down 7 Times and Stand Up 8 by Jen Bryant and illustrated by Toshiki Nakamura. This is an interactive story in which I will indicate to you, and you will all repeat, fall down 7 times and get up 8. Shall we practice? Here we go.
Fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Oh, excellent. You guys are awake. Very good. Now, for our story. As I look out over the beautiful Pacific Ocean as it tumbles against the Hawaiian shore, I remember my childhood on Maui as a Japanese American. I learned about traditions like the Daruma doll, how to paint one eye, work hard for a goal, and then paint in the other eye once you have reached the goal. Because the bottom is weighted, if you touch the doll, it will roll over and then stand right back up. My Japanese grandfather said in solemn words, "Fall down 7 times, stand up 8. Do not ever give up." That seems so long ago, before the bombing of Pearl Harbor when I was 14, and the immediate suspicion of anyone of Japanese descent. We were not forced into a camp, but my father destroyed family letters and pictures that spoke of our Japanese heritage. I just knew that getting an education was the key to a better life. And when I followed my older brother Eugene into class that very first day, everyone laughed. "Patsy Takamoto, girls don't go to school," they said. Yet, stayed I did. And in high school, I was on the debate team. I helped to organize my classmates for the war efforts and was elected the first female student president. My goal was to become a doctor. Eventually, this goal took me far away from home to a college in Nebraska. But when I arrived there, I was placed in the international dorm. What? I'm an American. But then I looked around at the students in that dorm, and they were all Americans. Black Americans, Asian Americans, Latina Americans. I realized that I was here because I was not white, and that was not right.
Fall down 7 times, stand up 8.
Well, you may have guessed that I don't shy away from a challenge. I started talking about this unfairness on campus, and the movement grew until the university made a new rule that white students and students of color would no longer be segregated. Due to an illness, I had to come home, but I did graduate from the University of Hawaii with high scores. I applied to 20 different medical schools, and yet I was not accepted into a single one. And why? Because medical schools were not taking women. Ugh! Women are always going to be held back unless the laws change. Challenge accepted. The University of Chicago Law School accepted my application. There was only one other female student. There I met my love, John Mink, and we were married in the university chapel. But when we graduated, John and all of my male classmates were hired. It was very hard to swallow that all my efforts meant nothing if I were a female. So we returned to Hawaii, where I opened my own law practice while starting our family. Soon a friend took me to a political meeting. Oh, it was exhilarating to have open debate with a mix of people and words and ideas and actions. So I ran for territorial office and won in 1956 to the House and then in 1958 to the Senate. My efforts helped push Hawaii to becoming a 50th state in 1959. But I was not elected to represent Hawaii in Washington, D.C. At the 1964 convention, I gave an impassioned speech. How can America stand as the land of golden opportunity if indeed there is only opportunity for some and not all? Well, my words inspired Democrats to support their efforts for civil rights. Every American needed access to jobs, education, and voting. And though I was scared, I ran again for the U.S. House seat, but this time I won. I was the first woman of color in the U.S. Congress and one of only 13 women in 1965. I knew that making a difference in a woman's lives, that I knew that changing the lives changed the lives of everyone for the better. You know, when writing a law, it's a lot like drawing a map. If it's done well, it leads you to a new place. So a well-written law changes lives for the better. Excuse me. I wrote a bill as Title IX to the Education Act. It had only 37 words. No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subject to discrimination under any educational program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Well, as you can guess, many of the schools and universities figured out that Title IX would require them to give equal opportunity to women student athletes, and they were furious. They wanted to keep all the money for themselves, and many of my male colleagues felt the same. I rallied my women collaborators and we held debate. But then my heart stopped. I got a call that my daughter Wendy was in a bad car accident, and I rushed to her side. And while I was gone, sports as an activity was stripped from Title IX and passed in the House by one vote. But the Senate still had to vote, and they voted to keep sports in as an activity. The amendment bounced back to the House for a second vote. I made as many calls as I could from the bedside of my daughter, and with the help of my colleagues, the amendment passed. Now all women would be treated equally with men as students and as athletes. I am back home now, and my daughter is getting better. But as I look out over the ocean, I know that there is so much more to do. But for now, Title IX has become the law. So let us now stand as we're able to sing our hymn number 203, All the Creatures of the Earth and Sky. And after the song, any young UUs are welcome to join me at the back as we head to the playground for water fun. And that could be a UU who's as young as 88 or 89, so long as you have your water clothes on. All right, thank you.
All creatures of the earth and sky, come here and lift your voices high. shining on with silver gleam. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Swift rushing wind so wild and strong, white clouds that hail in heaven along. Alleluia, alleluia, where rising moon in praise rejoice. High stars of evening find a voice. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Cool flowing water, pure and clear, make music for all life to hear. Alleluia, alleluia, dance flame of fire so strong and bright, endless us with your warmth and light. Alleluia, 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 alleluia.
You may be seated. As we move into the center of our worship, we invite you to center yourselves. We will begin with centering in words, and then we will continue with a few moments of quiet together, and then I invite us to sing Spirit of Life, remaining seated. The centering in words is taken from the writing of the Reverend Mark Bellatini, entitled Blessings. Blessed is every breath I take. Blessed is every fear I face. Blessed is every robin's nest, every bough of spruce, every shell on the beach. Blessed is the lap of the waves, the droop of a willow, the sweep of the prairie. Blessed is the gable of my house. Blessed are my family and friends. Blessed is my love, the depth of my strength, which is deeper than my present brokenness. Blessed is the honesty of my fear and my fierce love of life. Blessed is love that forever remembers my future and trembles with my tremors. Blessed is the courage that I did not know I had. Blessed is my desire that I might speak unfettered. Blessed is the song of life, one note whose fullness sings in me. Blessed is the beauty of all, is my thanksgiving, and blessed is my dream of peace for all those I love, beginning with myself. Will you join me in a moment of quiet? a reading from Bernadette Miller entitled A Serious Frivolity. Savoring the substance of existence is a serious frivolity. Someone must do it. Someone must love luminous hours when leaves marry light and refuse to stop shining. Someone must speak the sweetness of lilacs before it is lost beneath smog. Someone must bask in the beauty of blessing because the news knows only brokenness. When you give yourself to a particular place, the power and the peace of that place gives themselves through you. So, savoring the substance of existence is a serious frivolity. Someone must do it. Will that someone be you? Here ends our reading. As we move into the month of June, we begin a new theme, our last theme for this cycle of the year, celebrating blessings. And I found myself thinking as I looked at the material that it is important for us to think about what we mean when we use the word blessing. I think it's probably something that many of us might use more commonly than others, but at the same time, I think exploring it more deeply will help set the context for this month and our thinking about this theme. It's interesting because when you look at the source of the word blessing, there's a great interplay between the two sources that come together to bring forth our modern word blessing. From the Hebrew word, blessing has to do with, it's rooted in the word that's associated with the knee, suggesting that blessing has something to do with kneeling down and often is associated with making oneself humble and receptive and even small. And counterbalance with that is the Aramaic word, which means literally ripe or ready for the picking. And especially when talking about people, it usually means one who is integrated, whole, complete, mature. And so even in the initial understanding of the word, there's this wonderful interplay between a blessing may ask us to really open ourselves and sort of make ourselves vulnerable to life. But it also will call us to find our best self, our self that is most abundantly full of life. And that seems important to me. The other thing that I found really interesting, and it isn't entirely new to me, but I tended to forget just how widespread it was, is that the concept of blessing in most traditions, religious traditions, is understood to be just a nod to the state of the world, rather than something that points out the extraordinary. And what I mean by that is that many traditions think of our experience of reality as being steeped in blessing, rather than the concept of original blessing that St. Augustine, or original sin, which St. Augustine made so popular. There were theologians, especially theologians from the Celtic tradition, that felt that an emphasis on the world as a broken place really was not consistent either with Scripture or very ancient understandings of our relationship with the world. What they believed was that we come into the world with a deep sense of love from the creative force, and that all around us, while not perfect, is a blessing. It reflects the nature of the holy in all things. And that sense of brokenness, they felt, often just was utilized as a tool to help people feel guilty and therefore more easily controlled by religion. You can understand how that may not have been a very popular idea in certain times and places. But Houston Smith is quick to point out that in almost all old religions, primal people, as he called them, understand their relationship with the earth to be very intimate and integrated, not one that is alienated. And from that understanding of how we relate to everything around us, it changes our sense of our relationship both to the planet, but also to what we might mean by a blessing. In both of these ideas, the Celtic tradition and very old religious traditions, when we talk about blessing, we talk about returning to a truer relationship with all that is. To bless something is to remove the illusion of separateness and see things for what they really are. Now, we all know that nature isn't entirely about sweetness and light. It isn't trying to get away from the reality that the world is filled with complex things, sometimes horrible things, but that the overall nature of what we participate in is in and of itself a blessing. And so what we are trying to do, according to Houston Smith, is to not sort of find our way to a better place in our lives, especially in the afterlife, but to really understand more fully the wonder and possibility of this life now. As he concludes at the end, he says, you are not trying to return to a God. God is here. The earth itself is God. Buddha is here. Allah is here. Gaia, the spirit of the planet, is here right now. So if we think about how we understand ourselves as Unitarian Universalists, this is very consistent with our heritage. Our Universalist side was very clear that we were not born into brokenness, but into potential. That we were not reflective of original sin, but of the gift of life itself from a loving energy, not a hateful, judging one. So this idea of blessing is very, very much consistent with our own tradition. Our own Aaliyah Kindler wrote this. So what then does it mean to offer a blessing? To be a blessing. To bless something or someone is to invoke its wholeness, to help remind the person or thing you are blessing of its essence, its sacredness, its beauty, to help remind yourself of that as well. A blessing does not fix anything. It is not a cure. A blessing does not fix us. It does instill health or well-being or strength. It reminds us of those things that are already there within us. So if a blessing is to be understood as the ways that we move back into a truer relationship with all that is already around us, it made me think about how very often when we come together, we participate in things that might be called rituals. And this time of year, there are often many things that we do, like flower communion or sometimes bridging ceremonies that are rites of passage. And I wanted to think with you just for a moment about the relationship between that sense of the blessed nature of the world around us and why rituals and rites of passages are so important. So one of the main original source meanings of a rite or a ritual comes from the Vedic word, which means the sacred order. And what the Vedic understanding of that had to do with is that there are certain things that we can practice in life that place us more in the pulse and harmony of the cosmos and the universe around us. And I think that may not be unlike when we feel like in our lives we are doing something that we have gotten to the point where we can let go of it and sort of go into a sense of flow with something and feel like we really have both gotten out of ourselves but also deeply within some knowing in ourselves. That sense of being able to feel like we are deeply connected with something is part of what a ritual tries to connect us with. That deeper sense of what is true, powerful. And so I found myself thinking about the various ways that we participate in that and why it's important. So here are a few types of rituals or rites of passage to think about. There are, first of all, what we might call the daily round. Those are the things that we do typically in a day that we may or may not be aware of, but tend to be things that we repeat over and over again. Most of us, for instance, when we get up in the morning, have some semblance of a ritual that we follow, whatever it may be. We may get up and use the bathroom, brush our teeth, have coffee, but if we sometimes get away from those traditions, then things feel a little off and can actually throw off our entire day. And that may continue throughout your day. When you get to work or school, there are certain things that you find yourself doing often without being aware of it. Now, those are obviously not rites of passage, but those rituals, those repeated behaviors, even if we're not aware of them, become very important. For instance, my father had the dubious task when I was an adolescent of waking me up every day to go to school. Why he volunteered for that, I don't know. I think he was a sadist because he also every morning would open the door and say in a totally unnatural voice for him, don't you just love getting up in the morning? And usually there were expletives under my breath as he said that to me. But the thing is that he did that day after day. And by the time I graduated high school and I went off to college, I remember for weeks when I would wake up, I would have this moment of deep sadness that, as crazy as it made me week after week, day after day, that my father no longer would come to the dorm room door and say, don't you just love getting up in the morning, felt like a loss to me. There are things that every day we participate that are important to us. There are also what are called personal or familiar calendars. Most of us have family traditions that we take part in. They certainly do not appear on a pre-printed calendar, but there are days like our birthdays. There are days like when we remember that we lost someone that was important to us. There are personal anniversaries that we celebrate. There are ways of honoring the sense of family and the sense of our family history. There's also the cultural calendar. These may be called the outside calendar, and these often give us a chance to come together with family and friends and to experience or practice various things, everything from joy, love, to also acknowledging disaster. Many of our holidays, our national holidays, are based on this sense of remembering something. And even more informally, there are things that are not in a formal calendar, but are a part of our national consciousness. Pearl Harbor Day, although often it is honored, or September 11th, or probably January 6th for a long time will be something we will remember. By acknowledging the power of those days, whether we know it or not, we are shaping meaning in our lives. And finally, what we do most often here is we honor the seasons of our life, the changes that are significant when we graduate high school, when we have a child that is born, when we die. And so we take those and we ritualistically imbue them with a sense of some predictability, and from that, we begin to shape deeper meaning. Well, when we participate in rituals, we're actually trying to do certain things. They have certain purposes. The purposes of ritual are these things. They're meant to be relational. They shape and express and maintain our relationships in some way. They have to do with reminding us of change. They almost always are about making or marking transition in our lives. They in some way seek to be healing. They intend in some way to help us recover from loss and hurt. They have to do with believing, with voicing and shaping meaning, and from what is happening to shape some sort of sense of purpose from our lives. And finally, usually, they are also about celebrating, at least ultimately, because they affirm the importance of our life and, when they can, the deep joy of that living. So, why would I bring this up now? And as a final bit, why is it important to us now and in the general sense as a congregation? Well, what I've noticed is that the more that we return to all of these rituals, first with a sense of noticing in our lives what we do repeatedly, and just in and of itself, observing that and becoming aware of it, begins to help us see things sometimes that might be lost in our daily life. And part of what we do over and over again as a congregation is try to remind ourselves to stop, take a deep breath, and notice what we are doing with our lives. Both the things that we do with intention, but also, very importantly, what we find ourselves doing by rote. So on one level, thinking about ritual asks us to be aware when we can of what we are choosing to do throughout our days and throughout our life, so that we might bring more of a sense of purpose. Caspar de Kyle, who, among other things, worked for many years with Krista Tippett on being on their staff, is also a chaplain with Harvard Divinity School, which has probably one of the highest concentrations of Unitarian Universalists in the United States. But he wrote a book about the power of ritual, and what he said is that, and he primarily works with younger people, he says that while many of them are dubious about organized religion, they actually are very, very curious about spirituality. And what they have found, and what he's helped them do, is to recapture in their life, because they are so curious about it, the ways that various kinds of ritual in our lives may help us foster deeper meaning. And I think whatever our age and stage, that can be powerful to us. And what he means is that often there are very old ideas that if we imbue them with new meaning, we might understand them more deeply. One of the things he is most famous for is that he used to host a weekly podcast entitled Harry Potter and the Sacred Texts. And what he invited millennials to do who grew up with Harry Potter is to think of Harry Potter as a sort of sacred text that you could explore the themes within. And they define a sacred text as any text that encourages at least one or two people to be in deep conversation that fosters connection, meaning, and purpose. And so what he invited folks who grew up with Harry Potter to do is step back, take a little section of the story, and really step into how it might speak more deeply to our lives. And what he invites us to do is think about everything that we do or read as an invitation for that kind of exploration. And he asks us to take some traditional ideas and think about how they might help us in things that we do every day to find more meaning. For instance, he thinks about the idea of pilgrimage. And when we think about pilgrimage, we think of something very holy and complex, like going to the Camino de Santiago. But he basically says that you can understand any journey on any day as a pilgrimage, something that you undertake with a sense of intention, and you seek from it a deeper understanding of your own life. In that way, honestly, even just going to the grocery store could be understood as a pilgrimage. If you think about on a deeper level what it is that you want from your life as you undertake that particular activity. So, for this month, my homework to you is to think about all of the things that you may do by rote. Or for that matter, everything that we do in here, like singing hymns or the readings that we do, and think about what purpose they serve. Pushing ever deeper underneath those things and seeing if, by being more aware of them, more intentional about them, that they might give us more of a sense of meaning. The reason why I think this is so important is by practicing this week after week, day after day, that sense of blessing is more often able to come to us. By being more aware of it, we are more likely to be more deeply aware of what is actually happening in our lives. And from that more truthful place, we might connect more often with meaning and purpose. Finally, I find myself thinking, especially in these times when turning on the news can be soul-sucking, about how thinking about blessings in the various ways they come to us are important. Jan Richardson wrote this: "Look, the world is always ending somewhere. Somewhere the sun has come crashing down. Somewhere it's gone completely dark. Somewhere it has ended with the gun, the knife, the fist. Somewhere it has ended with the slammed door, the shattered hope. Somewhere it is ended with utter quiet that follows the news from phone, television, the hospital room. Somewhere it has ended with a tenderness that will break your heart. But listen, this blessing means to be anything but morose. It does not come to cause despair. It is simply here because there is nothing a blessing is better suited for than an ending. Nothing that cries out more for blessing than when a world is falling apart. This blessing will not fix you, will not mend you, will not give you false comfort. It will not talk to you about one door opening when another one closes. This blessing will simply sit itself beside you among the shards, gently turn your face toward the direction from which the light will come, gathering itself about you as the world begins again. In this month, may we explore the blessings in our lives and the way that our life most powerfully connects us with that kind of blessing. So may it be. As we move into our offering, may we think about those blessings in terms of the gift that they are to us, the resource that they are to us, and how we might re-gift them over and over again to the world before us. The offering will now be given and received in generosity and love. Thank you, Zachary, for the gift of your music today. It has been a blessing to us all. So let's rise in all the ways that we do. We're going to do hymn number 1010, and we're going to do it in a style that is probably one of the oldest styles of singing, call and response. So what that means is that I will do the calling, and you will echo the phrase that I sing to you, and Paul and Robert will help you with that. So I'll be like, oh, we give thanks, oh, we give thanks, and we'll make our way through the song twice, doing it in that manner. So here we go. Let's give it a try. Oh, we give thanks, for this precious day, we're all gathered here, and those far away, for this time we share, with love and care, we give thanks, for this precious day. One more time. We give thanks, for this precious day, we're all gathered here, and those far away, for this time we share, with love and care, we give thanks, for this precious day. As we get ready to leave this place, may we be more intentional about everything in our lives, but especially that which we repeat in our daily life, in this place. May we pay attention so we might notice more of the gift of it, that it might speak to us more clearly about our life now. We extinguish this chalice, but we do not extinguish the power of that wisdom, the wonder of our keen minds, the warmth of the love that we share with each other. these will remain in your lives until you gather in this place. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget to bring your flower next week for flower communion. We'll see you outside in coffee hour.
Thank you.